welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something that, well, I think touches everyone, really finding your way and growing as a person.
And our source for this deep dive is an excerpt from Victor Lung's writing. It's titled The Power of Staying True to Who You Are.
Right, and our mission here really is to unpack the core ideas in this piece. It gives a pretty specific view on navigating your path, connecting with others, and what growth actually looks like according to this source.
It definitely does. It challenges some, common ideas about success and belonging, suggests maybe a different starting point than many expect.
Exactly. So get ready, because we're aiming to pull out some insights that could offer a fresh perspective on your own journey, all based on what Lung writes here. Let's dive in.
Okay, so the source kicks off by noting how often people feel pushed by, well, external things.
Like pressure to follow certain careers or trends.
Precisely. Societal trends, popular paths. The source suggests many folks spend a lot of time trying to fit into these outside expectations.
And this is where the piece offers its main kind of counter idea, isn't it? Saying the best path isn't out there, looking at what the world wants.
But inside, yes, it suggests you need to look inside.
Okay.
It totally reframes the idea of a compass. Forget external markers for a second. The source argues the real indicator is what lights you up. What gives you energy, makes you feel genuinely alive.
That feeling inside, that's the compass.
That's what the source posits, yes. That internal resonance is presented as your personal guide for direction.
Okay, so if that inner feeling is the compass, how does following it actually affect our skills, our development?
Well, the source makes a very direct link there. It says passion fuels skill and growth. Simple as that, almost.
So if you love doing something, painting, coding, gardening, whatever it is,
you naturally want to spend time doing it, right? And that enjoyment, that engagement, it just drives improvement. You get better because you want to.
Yeah, and I really like how the source points out that this holds true even if others don't immediately see the point or the value in what you're doing.
Exactly. It argues you become strong in that area you're passionate about. And that's ultimately more effective than struggling to be just okay at a bunch of things you don't even like.
So it really asks you, the listener, to think, what do you genuinely enjoy? What do you naturally gravitate towards learning or doing?
The source implies that leaning into that is a really powerful way to grow.
Okay, shifting gears just a little. The source also talks quite a bit about human connection, its importance.
It does, and it makes a pretty stark observation, actually, that being alone for too long can cause even, basic habits to fade.
Really, like daily routines.
Yeah, it suggests that without that regular social interaction, people might lose touch with routines, maybe even the sense of time passing normally or parts of themselves. So staying connected, and it's not just to people. The source mentions purpose, curiosity, structure, too. That's what helps keep us grounded, helps keep us, as the source puts it, fully alive.
That's a really powerful link. Connection, not just for, emotional warmth, but for basic functioning. How does the source explain why it's so vital for maintaining those structures, internal and external?
Well, looking at the overall message, connection provides that kind of external reference point, a shared reality, if you will. It helps reinforce routines, showing up for things, working with others. It keeps curiosity going through shared ideas or experiences. And it reminds us of purpose, which often comes from how we interact or contribute.
So social interaction is almost like a framework, helping keep us organized and engaged.
That seems to be the idea presented, yes. It helps keep the individual self-organized and interacting with the world around them.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, here's an idea from the source that, well, it might rub against some traditional self-help ideas.
Ah, you mean the pressure to change yourself.
Exactly. Trying to become more outgoing if you're quiet, or more focused if you're naturally a bit scattered.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. To fit in or get ahead.
Yes, and the source really pushes back against that directly. It argues that real, lasting growth doesn't come from fighting who you naturally are.
Okay, let's unpack that, because that flips the script a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If growth isn't about becoming someone else, what is it, according to this writing?
It's about understanding yourself first, deeply, and then building on your existing strengths. That's the core idea.
So not transformation into someone new, but becoming the best version of the person you already are.
Exactly. The most actualized version of yourself, starting from your authentic base.
And how do you figure out that authentic self? The source mentions instincts, right?
It does. It suggests our instincts aren't just random feelings. They're shaped by everything, our life experiences, our body's physical responses, our history. They hold a kind of accumulated wisdom.
So pay attention when something feels right. That's your inner wisdom.
That's the advice. And equally, if a path feels forced or maybe fake, that's probably your instinct waving a red flag, saying this isn't aligned.
So the key is finding a strategy or a path that genuinely works for you, for your true self.
Right. Instead of trying to cram yourself into a plan or a mold that just doesn't fit, it's about honoring that deep internal knowing.
And this whole idea of staying true, it links right into finding where you belong, doesn't it? The source talks about that feeling of being an outsider.
Mm-hmm. A very common feeling. And it suggests that if you feel like you don't belong, maybe it just means you haven't found your people, your community yet.
That's a crucial distinction the source makes. It's not saying you're the problem.
No, it frames it as your journey still unfolding. The right connections are out there waiting to be made.
And the way to find those people, the ones who will get you, value you.
The advice is pretty straightforward. Keep showing up as yourself. Authenticity acts like a signal. That's how your tribe, so to speak, will recognize you.
That's such a powerful reminder. Because trying to bend yourself out of shape to fit in might actually stop you from meeting the very people who would appreciate the real you.
Exactly. You attract what you put out, in a sense.
Now, while the source champions authenticity, it doesn't say stay static. It acknowledges growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right. It notes people react differently to the unknown. Some take big leaps, others prefer smaller steps. And the source seems to say both are valid approaches.
But the key insight, it seems, is that growth starts with taking a step, even a small one.
Even a tiny step outside what feels comfortable right now. It doesn't demand huge, dramatic changes if that's not your style, just forward movement.
And the source sees facing the unknown, whatever the size of the step, as a sign of strength.
Yes, a willingness to grow, to learn, to kind of lead your own life forward. It's not about not feeling fear, but about acting anyway, guided by that inner compass we talked about.
Anchored in who you are.
Anchored in your authentic self. It ties back to trusting those instincts, doesn't it? Maybe those small steps are guided by intuition, moving into areas that feel right for you, even if unfamiliar.
Okay, next up, the source tackles fairness, but from a slightly different angle than usual.
Ah, yes, the equality versus equity kind of discussion. There's lots of talk about making everything equal, treating everyone the same.
But the source argues, well, that real fairness isn't actually about treating everyone identically.
It's about recognizing and respecting the differences between people. That's the core distinction it draws.
That's fascinating. So forcing sameness isn't fair.
According to this view, no. It argues everyone has something unique to bring. Trying to make everyone fit the same mold actually diminishes the richness, the diversity that makes us human.
So the world needs your specific voice, your story, your strengths, not a copy of someone else's.
That's the strong implication. Your uniqueness is valuable.
And this connects to the source's view of our whole development, right? As a process. It acknowledges we're shaped by so much.
Oh, absolutely. Your past, family, environment, emotions, all your experiences.
Yeah.
It's a complex mix.
And because it's so complex, change and growth aren't like flipping a switch.
Exactly. They're presented as journeys. They take time. They require patience.
You don't need to be perfect or fixed overnight. I find this perspective from the source really freeing. You are not broken.
You are becoming, yes.
Wow.
And that process of becoming, the source frames that itself as powerful.
It really encourages self-compassion, doesn't it? Seeing yourself as this ongoing work in progress.
Continuously unfolding, yeah. A much more patient way to view personal development.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together,
Yeah.
what's the main takeaway? The source seems to synthesize it into a clear choice.
It does. Instead of chasing some external, often impossible idea of perfection, choose authenticity.
And instead of just following the crowd,
Follow your heart. Follow that inner compass we discussed earlier.
it really emphasizes that your journey is unique, one of a kind.
Trust yourself. Give yourself the space, the patience you need to grow. And the source concludes that if you do that, you'll find strength, peace, purpose, maybe beyond what you initially thought possible.
So reflecting on all this, what does it really mean for you listening right now, based on this deep dive into Lung's writing?
It feels like a very clear call to look inward, to start trusting that unique guidance system you have inside you, and to lean into the process, becoming the most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah, this exploration of the power of staying true to who you are.
Right?
It really hammers home that idea. Your best path, your real connections, your truest growth,
Yeah.
they come from understanding and embracing who you are.
Not from trying to morph into someone else to fit in or succeed by someone else's standards. It really challenges that external pressure.
It suggests fulfillment comes from building on your strengths, following that internal pull.
Which leaves us with a really important question for you to think about, directly inspired by the source's message. If you accept this idea that you weren't broken, but simply becoming what's one small step, just one, you could take today to really lean into that process, to trust your own inner compass just a little bit more than you did yesterday.